New details on the brutal murders of the 4 University of Idaho students found stabbed to death this weekend. Police believe 2 more roommates were home at the time of the killing. Kana Whitworth is in Moscow, Idaho with the details. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, George, good morning. So authorities telling us that those other 2 female roommates are cooperating with this investigation, but still at this point, they have no suspect, they have no murder weapon, and they have no leads that they're willing to share. What they do have is a college town on edge. Some people are so afraid they're packing up and leaving, and the university is allowing students to be absent. This morning, as the hunt for the alleged killer of 4 University of Idaho students intensifies, police walking back their original claims that there was no imminent threat to the community.
We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant.
Moscow police addressing the public for the first time since Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Shauna Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were found brutally stabbed to death in an off-campus apartment.
The 4 were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time.
New video emerging of Kaylee and Madison in what would have been their final hours. The lifelong best friends seen here laughing and taking pictures as they ordered late-night food around 2 a.m. By 4 a.m., their life was over.
They were seen downtown and at a party.
And not necessarily together, the 4 of them.
And so really, if any of the neighbors in the area happen to have any relevant footage, that's something that we would love to see.
Authorities and Kaylee's older sister confirming that 2 other female roommates were home at the time of the attack and survived.
And they were able to confirm that these 2 roommates were in the home at the time of this, and they made it out the next morning.
Police say there was no forced entry into the home. Does that lead authorities to believe that the attacker was someone they knew?
Potentially. Part of what that leads us to believe is that this might have been more of a targeted attack.
Relatives describing the house to us.
When I'm looking at this door, it's like a keypad with numbers on it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how they got in and out.
So there is that door. There's also a back sliding door. And I will say, yes, there is that keypad lock on it. And my sister was absolutely a door locker. This was the party house and it's been generations. And so I won't say that they were very private with that code.
And police admitting they should have come forward with information sooner.
Frustration comes from having lost some very critical first 48, now 72 hours. I don't know if my sisters wanted to be buried. I don't know if they wanted white roses or red roses, but I do know that they would want justice.
Now, our affiliate KXLY saying that those autopsies have been completed, and the mayor telling me that can really give investigators a lot of information, such as manner and time of death, and even potentially they could collect DNA evidence that could help them track down this killer that George this morning is still on the loose.
That is something. Okay, and thanks very much. Let's bring in former FBI agent Brad Garrett for more on this. Brad, what do you make of this revelation that about the 2 other roommates?
I think it's interesting and it's also odd. I mean, if this murder occurred at 4 in the morning, they don't report it, or someone doesn't report it till noon. What's that all about? They are the key, George, to this case. They were in the house. This type of killing, it's going to be loud, both by the suspect and the victims. It's going to take a period of time. It's obviously going to be very bloody. And I just don't really understand that, but they are really the key. It's a small town. The likelihood that they know who that person was in the house, I think, is reasonable.
You say they're the key. What about the fact, are they suspects?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, they're not talking about them being suspects at all. All I'm suggesting, it is an odd thing, right? If you're in a house, 4 people are brutally killed, and nobody contacts the police for another 8 hours, there's a big issue with that. But no, they're not saying that. But, you know, this case, George, is just going to be solvable, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's a small community between CCTV, cell phone coverage, who had cell phones out at 4 o'clock in the morning in or around that house, and just doing interviews. I just think this case is not far from being solved, but the police appear to be stymied based on their own comments.
Yeah, I mean, they said that there's no threat to the community, and they took it back. So what are their next steps?
So their next steps are the following. You really are going to have to do a complete detail of the party that was prior to whatever was going on between 3 and 4 o'clock at the victim house. They were at another party. Who followed them home? Who's been dating whom? Who have had issues with people? You know, this killer didn't all of a sudden show up at this house. He knew this house, and he was able to get in, it sounds like, with little trouble.